right, everybody, welcome to episode 29 of the Comedically Hardheaded podcast. Now, where I left off, I have just completed the very first school year while running the community center. There were ups, there were downs, there were moments where you're just like, what the heck? There were laughs, there were moments where people cried. It was a whole lot. Reference episode 27 and 28 for that story. So getting to the actual school year, the funniest thing is that when you work at a community center with so many different personalities and people that come from so many different backgrounds, anything is bound to happen at any given moment. You just have to always be ready for whatever comes down the pipeline. So on this particular day, the four bandits decided that they were going to have an operation. So let me give some backstory. You remember the girl Monica from the last episode. She was the neighborhood bully. At the time, she was in 3rd grade. Now she's in 4th. But she was a young girl who pretty much ran the neighborhood, right? All the kids were halfway scared of her because she could beat up everybody. And it wasn't just her. Her whole family fought. She fought, the sisters fought, mama stayed on ready. Like, Monica moved like she ran the block and drove a deuce and a quarter, so don't try her. So on this particular day, she decided that she wanted some Takis from the dollar store. There was a nearby dollar store about 5 minutes away from where the neighborhood was, like right outside the neighborhood. Now, the kids knew they're never supposed to leave the neighborhood for any reason to go get anything unless they have parent permission and the parents are fine with them going to the dollar store. But all the kids knew, if you were in 6th grade and down, you could not walk to the dollar store. And so Monica didn't have any money either. So she figured she was just going to put together a plan and she was going to bring some people with her and they were going to figure out how to get the Takis. So also in the bandit group would also be this kid, Theo. Now, Theo was actually a really nice kid. Theo was actually kind of goofy. And he was really big for his age. I know I've always been skinny, but I was real skinny then. Back then, I was about 120 pounds. Theo probably was about 140 pounds, and he was in 3rd grade. He was just a big kid, but very athletic at the same time. So just huge kid. So you have him. Then you have Chase. If you remember from one of the early episodes, Chase was the kid who just lived in his own world, right? In his world, he was a Power Ranger or a samurai or a ninja or an action figure. Like, life was a video game for him. He just was always on ready, right? He just randomly jump off of furniture and hop and fly. Yeah, I'm like, sit down. Like, just always doing something. So you have Chase, who's in Chase Land. And then the last person would be Hannah. Hannah was a sweetheart. Sweetest thing ever. However, the dots did not quite connect the way they should connect for Hannah. Like, people sometimes say, oh, the dots didn't connect. Her dots connected. The problem was you couldn't make out what the picture was once they were connected. So she was in her own world, and a lot of times what I noticed is she could be very, very literal with how she received information and how she shared information. I remember one time Chase was playing some video game on the computer. Right, and so he's talking the trash, and I think he said something about like, oh, you know, he's gonna kill the bad guys or something like that on the game. Hannah ran to me, panicked. Now, mind you, Hannah is in, I want to say she was in 5th grade at the time. Chase was in 2nd. Hannah runs to me, Mr. Michael, what? Chase said he's gonna kill me. Huh? Wait a minute, what? So, Chase, will you stop saying all that crazy stuff on the computer? Otherwise, I'm gonna make you turn it off and go back to tux typing like everybody else. So Monica had this elaborate plan. Now, as much as she used to drive me crazy because she was always getting caught up in something, she was a smart girl when she wanted to be. She was real smart at getting what she wanted. And so the plan was this. She was gonna have Theo stand in an area between the neighborhood and the dollar store. Like I said, as soon as you come outside of the neighborhood, there's this big shopping center and the dollar store is over there. And they knew that in the event that I bring a group of kids outside to play dodgeball or something at the playground, which is right in front of the center, I would see them coming back from the front entrance of the neighborhood, and I would know that they came from the shopping center. So his job was to kind of keep an eye out, and if he saw me bringing a group of kids out with all the balls and stuff, that meant that he would run back to the store and tell everybody, when we come back, let's come in from the back side of the neighborhood, and that way we can just say that we came from somebody's house, because if he sees us coming through the main entrance, he knows where we came from. And so that was Theo's job. And then she was going to use Hannah and Chase to go and get the Takis and get everything else that they wanted. Like, they all had their backpacks and everything. And so this is when the plan starts to fall apart. Like, they didn't have none of this together once it was time to actually execute. So meanwhile, back at the center, on this specific day, I was at the center by myself. I can't remember exactly where Ava was, but my guess would have been either she was out sick or maybe I let her have the day off because she had an exam coming up. Like I said in the previous episodes, she was still a college student. Now, at this particular moment, we were doing homework time at the center. This is the period where you have all the tables spread out, the kids have brought out all their homework. If they don't have homework, I have activities for them to work on that will be enriching to their academic experience. The teenagers are doing their thing. It's a good day, right? We are chilling, because normally what happens is when the kids get off the bus, I'm outside to greet them, and I make a mental note of every elementary kid that I've seen get off the bus. Because like I said in the earlier episodes, the kids are not technically our responsibility until they come into the center, mainly because they have agency to go home if they get off the bus. They might want to go home, maybe they go home for the day, maybe they don't want to come to the center that day. So once they come to the center and sign in, then they're my responsibility. So on this particular day, Monica, Hannah, Chase, and Theo did not sign in. I saw them get off the bus. Hey, Mr. Michael. Hey, y'all, what's up? And so we're inside doing homework. Out of nowhere, I see Theo running into the door, out of breath. And he tries to sign in. I'm looking at his hand. Hand is shaking. His hand is shaking trying to sign in. And I'm Theo, what's going on? I don't know if I should say anything, but the police are coming. Huh? What? They're coming to get all of us. I didn't do nothing. Wait a minute. Wait, time out. All of us. What happened? Everybody's at the dollar store. Theo, when you say everybody's at the dollar store, who is everybody? I'm not a snitch. Boy, if you don't tell me who... Sir. Okay. It's Hannah, it's Chase, and Monica. Monica told us, and he just starts telling. He said Monica's name about 1 million times. He done said everything that this girl done did. So let me tell you exactly what happened. So this is according to Theo and according to the store owner, because at some point I had to leave the kids and go to the store, which I was not supposed to do because you can't leave kids unattended. But I was like, all right, when it comes to police and a bunch of black kids, I don't like to play games in that realm. So you know what? Responsible teenagers, listen, give me 5 minutes. I want you guys to take all the kids to the playground and y'all do an outdoor activity really quick, because I'm going to lock the center while I run over to the dollar store and go rescue the other kids who done got caught up in something crazy. So at this point, everything was going according to plan in regard to this little heist they were doing. Theo's holding his post in between the dollar store and the neighborhood. Mind you, this is not an official dollar store franchise. This is kind of like a mom and pop, locally owned dollar store that only has one person working there, and that's why the kids think they can always just go in there and steal. And so Theo's holding his post. Monica is going to be the other lookout, but she's going to be the lookout for the actual store. She's going to keep her eyes on the person behind the counter. And then Chase and Hannah were supposed to be the two to go and load their backpacks up with the stuff from the store, specifically the Talkies. But they went and got a bunch of stuff. So they got the Talkies, they got juice, candy, all kind of stuff. They've been loading up, and really they were in the store too long. At some point, stuff starts to get real noticeable. But anyway, they made it out of the store successfully. And the three of them were walking. They run back into Theo, and as they're digging through the bag, looking at everything, Monica realizes they did not get the Talkie flavor that she wanted. So she sends them back, because she's like, this is not the flavor I told y'all to get. Y'all need to go back and get it, or I'm telling on everybody. And so, like idiots, Hannah and Chase go back to the dollar store to go and get the correct flavor of the Talkies. Now, let me tell you where it gets even crazier. They didn't even think to dump the bags first before they went back to the store. So they go back in the store with these backpacks full of candy and chips and Talkies and whatever else they stole, going back into the store to go and get the correct flavor. And so while they're in the store trying to get the correct flavor, Hannah now has the correct flavor of Talkies that Monica wanted. Only problem is Hannah can't get it in her backpack because the backpack is full. It's filled with the stuff that they had already took, in addition to the fact that Hannah still has all her school stuff in the backpack. So there's the binder in there, there's the lunchbox in there, there's an umbrella up in there, there's some crayons up in there. So that bag is full. So while she's trying to stuff these Talkies in that bag, of course, that sound of a rattling chip bag, the store owner's like, wait a minute. So he comes back there and then he sees what's happening. Automatically, Chase sees the store owner looking at him. Chase runs out the store, right? He's doing cartwheels out the store because, like I said, he thinks he's a Power Ranger. So he's flipping out of the store and now he's hiding in the parking lot between the cars. And so the store owner goes to Hannah. You know, he's like, what are you doing? What are you doing? She says, I'm trying to put these things in my bag. And the store owner's like, wait a minute, these are from the store. You know you need to pay for that, right? You need money for that, right? I don't have money. That's why I'm putting it in the bag. And so the store owner is literally like, wait a minute, you can't possibly be this. Okay. Now at this point, it's been a few minutes, so Monica goes back to the store because she's trying to figure out what's taking so long. She's ready to get her Talkies and they playing games. So she and Theo go back to the store. Theo is no longer working his post as the lookout between the neighborhood and the dollar store. So when they get inside the dollar store, they see the store owner with Hannah, and he's saying pretty much, you guys need to go and get her parent or I'm calling the police. And so that's when Theo runs out because he just hears police and runs. Monica ain't went nowhere. She's still standing there arguing, talking about, well, I don't know what you calling the police for. I ain't did did nothing. You don't see me holding nothing. Like, pretty much throwing everybody under the bus. And so that's around the time Theo comes back to get me. So now I'm running from my center to the store to figure out what's happening. I look, I see Chase jumping between the car. Chase, come here. Why are you in the parking lot? As a matter of fact, get on the sidewalk and just stand right there and don't move until I come back. And so he's standing right by the entrance of the dollar store. I go in the dollar store. I hear an argument. It's Monica arguing with the store owner. I don't care. I'll get my mama to come up here. I'm like, what, Monica? All y'all, just stop. Just stop. Just stop. Just stop. Just stop. Right? The store owner is chewing me out. These are your kids. These kids have come in here and stolen. And she has stolen many, many times before. And he was talking about Monica. She's stolen many, many times before. And then this young lady has a backpack full of stuff. So are you paying for all of this? And I'm like, I ain't paying for nothing. So I'm looking like, well, did they open anything? And fortunately, nothing was opened yet. So I was like, as a matter of fact, okay, let's do this. All y'all empty these backpacks. Fortunately, Monica's backpack is empty. However, Hannah's is not. So I'm watching her pull all this stuff out the bag. Takis, chips, soda, juice, candy. I'm like, Lord, y'all done set poor little Hannah up, because Hannah don't even know what day of the week it is right now. And y'all, I was too done. So fortunately, the owner did not call the police, but those four were not allowed to come to the store for a few months. And I was like, oh, when we get to the center, I can't wait to talk to y'all parents. And so anyway, as we're walking back to the center and I'm chewing all of them out, I forgot Chase still has his backpack. His bag is full. I was like, you know what? Let's just go. Let's just go. Come on. It's a loss. Come on. Let's just go. And as a matter of fact, y'all give me everything that's in the bag. Just give it here, right? And so that was a day. And mind you, that was the first week of school. Now, during this school year, my patience would get tested a lot. And what was funny was, it wasn't even really the kids. A lot of the times when the kids did something crazy, I still understood that they were kids and they were gonna do kid things. So even though I would be disappointed, you'd never take it personally or, just be so irate or frustrated that you couldn't contain yourself. But it was the adults that used to take me there. Either it was gonna be one of the parents, it was somebody on the team, never really Ava. Me and her, we always hit locked in. We were on the same page all the time. But it was either gonna be boss lady or people from the basement club or the board or stakeholders or somebody from the organization. There was always something going on. So one day, we are all at this staff meeting. It's me, it's Ava, it's the entire staff from the basement club, and it's John from the Herndon club and whoever he had working up under him at the time. And so boss lady comes in and she's like, I have this great opportunity for the kids. And I'm like, okay, great. I have a special friend. And she's taking forever to get to the story. I have a special friend, okay? And this friend of mine is so talented. They are so talented and they do so many amazing things. And I'm looking at Ava like, if she don't spit out, what the hell? Oh, okay. And so she wants to do some special artwork with the kids. Oh, okay, great, all right. And it's gonna be on Saturday. Hold up, wait, nope, wait. Because listen, I was already irritated because, like I said before, boss lady always found a way for us to give up a weekend for something. And here's the thing. I don't mind giving up a weekend if it's something that I put together or something that Ava put together, something that we plan to do for our kids that we know will be worth it. But a lot of times when boss lady had some connection and some trips she wanted us to go on, it was always something crazy, always something super, super dry, real boring, very maiden, all right? It's kind of like that one episode where I was telling you guys we had to do something with Capital One Bank. And as great as they were, they had like these two interns talk to the kids about derivatives and loans and needs and wants. I was like, this is the most nursing home activity. This is not for kids. But anyway, so we were just like, I'm not trying to give up a Saturday. And so I'm like, wait, boss lady, so it's on Saturday? Why can't we just do it on like a regular day? Oh, well, she's only available on Saturdays because she works. What would you think the rest of us are doing? Like, what? And so, yeah, she's only available on Saturdays. Then she goes, and the place that we would need to go to, we'd need to go to Leesburg, Virginia. What? First of all, Leesburg, Virginia is not even anywhere near us. That's like a good hour out. Everywhere she wanted us to go, it was never any place close. She could never say something like, oh, we're just going to go to the National Mall. We're going to go to the Smithsonian. We always got to go way out to Kentucky somewhere to go do something. We never went to Kentucky, but it felt like driving there sometimes. one time, this would be in another episode, she made us do a work retreat all the way in West Virginia. And mind you, that was the week after my dad died, or after I came back from my dad's funeral, so I was not feeling it. That'll be some episodes later down the line. But anyway, so I'm just like, boss lady, like, we have lives outside of this job. And, you know, I don't mind giving up a Saturday if we have enough notice, but it's like Thursday, and that's like a day and a half from now. How do you know if we don't have other plans or other things that we're doing? And so, boss lady's like, she used to always do this thing where she would try to guilt us. You know, she'd use the kids as a crutch. She'd always say, you know, I just find it so interesting. Every person in this room claims that they're here for the kids. They claim that they want to make an impact that's positive on the lives of these kids. And when these kids have an opportunity to fly and to soar, you don't want to help them lift off. I'm looking like, yeah. Listen, y'all lucky I don't cuss on this podcast the way I want to. I was calling her all kind of names in my head. Like, no, you didn't. Like, you are not going to keep trying to use the kids as a crutch because, first of all, when it came to my kids, listen, I told y'all what my center looked like before I got there, and the roaches and all the raggedy furniture that was falling apart, and they didn't have any games or anything, and the lady that worked in the rental office next door felt so bad that she gave us a renovation just to help us out. So every time boss lady would try to act like she was like the savior to the children, I used to be like, no, the kids that go to my center were always the neglected group. The other centers always got a bit more than us at that point in time, especially the basement location. They got everything. Every time there were new grants or, you know, new games or whatever came, or if they needed to do some event and they were going to renovate a room, it was always their center that got it all the time. My center was always last, and the only time they would use my kids for anything was when they needed a photo op because they needed some black kids in the picture. So I'm looking like you are not about to sit here and give the speech about all of a sudden because Ava and I don't want to give up our Saturday so that we can be well rested to have the energy to do this all over again for the next week, that all of a sudden we are the reason the kids will not be able to soar and fly. But I kept it to myself because at this point I had been bubbling up a little bit for like the last few months, and I was about to have a blow up later down the line anyway, which we'll get to. So I sat on it. I was like, I'm gonna sit on it. I'm gonna sit on it. Ava sat on it as well, because for Ava's part-time, so at least for Ava, if she did a Saturday, she at least got overtime. I didn't because I was on salary at the time. And so I'm sitting on it, and I'm looking. The basement staff at the other site, they ain't got nothing to say. All of them acting scary. Any other time, they got all the mouth in the world, but now everybody's quiet. I was like, whatever. So I let her have that moment. I was like, you know what, you can have this one. I'm not even about to fight you today. So she goes, and so with this opportunity, the kids will be making flower art. Huh? What do you mean like flower art? Are they going to be getting like actual flowers that are going to be from, you know, a florist, and they're going to make something with that, kind of like a mural or something? No, it's going to be a special kind of paper, and they'll make flowers with the paper. Tissue paper? You got me going way out to Leesburg, Virginia on my day off to take these kids to make some flowers out of tissue paper, something that we could easily do at the center. I don't understand why she just can't come to the centers. Oh, well, she has special equipment to do this. And I'm looking like there is nothing special. It's some tissue paper. You fold it, you crinkle it, you glue it, you tape it up, you hang it up. Come on, man. And I was also annoyed because the other thing is, too, it's not like we have brand new buses that are very reliable. At that point in time, it's about 2012. The bus that I had was from 2003, which is not super old, but it's not super new. And the bus was already starting to make expensive sounds at that point. So I wasn't even comfortable driving it for really long distances. And I'm irritated because, again, I need my weekend just like everybody else, right? And we were always having to give up weekends for stuff. And the other part was I didn't mind giving up a Saturday, but the fact that it had been like, it was like Thursday or maybe might have even been Wednesday. If you're going to make me give up a Saturday, I at least want like a week and a half's notice, 2 weeks notice, so I can kind of map out other things. Because what if I had something going on? And so that had me real pissed off about it. But she used to love to do that and then try to guilt us and make the kids seem like if we didn't do, you know, whatever event that she thought of last minute, all of a sudden the kids were going to die the next day. Like, that's the way she used to move. And a lot of the stuff had nothing to do with the well-being of the kids. Like, this was just one of her friends, and she done told the friend, oh yeah, we can do a hookup type thing. And again, another photo op. So here we go, getting ready to bust the kids way out to the land before time so that they can make some paper flowers on my day off. The nerve. It was really the kids that kept me there at that point because I wasn't really happy with Boss Lady. I wasn't super happy with the organization. I wasn't really making any money. And then it was just like, it was something crazy all the time. But the kids would kind of keep you in a space where you enjoyed what you were doing. And it was a new school year. There were new kids that had come in. A lot of the kids had younger siblings that were now, coming into kindergarten. And so even Chase, Chase the Bandit had a younger brother, Lance, that had just joined. And Lance was adorable. He was in kindergarten, but he just cried too much. He hollered and wailed all the time. We had this kid Roland that had come, and Roland had actually come all the way from Ghana. Roland spoke no English. He was born here, and then the family sent him to Ghana until he started kindergarten, and then he came here for kindergarten. And you know what was really, really cool? Like when he got here, he could not speak a word of English. He just kind of used to look. And he had two sisters that already had gone to the center. They were here the whole time. So he had a sister, Sharita, who at this point was in 10th grade. And he had another sister, Toy, who should have been in about 4th grade at the time. But what was so cool was that, again, he only spoke Tree. And by the time we got to about January, February, he could speak English fluently. Like it was nothing. It's so cool how the brain is able to pick up and interpret information, especially with younger kids when it comes to learning another language. Like he learned it so fast. And really, he learned it from just being around the other kids. It wasn't like we had him in a room and we were like, this means that. Madase means thank you in English and vice versa. Like we didn't have to go through all that. It was kind of like he just ran with the kids and over time, he had the language down. But it used to be so funny because Roland never cared what he wore, right? Roland used to have this red and white sweater that he was too big for, that he used to wear, and these blue basketball shorts and some sandals. And he used to wear that every day. And it wasn't because he didn't have clothes. You know how sometimes boys just don't be caring. He was a kid who he did not care. And so he would wear that all day, every day. It would be 80 degrees outside. He got that sweater on. I said, Roland, you don't want to put on a t-shirt? No. Okay. All right. Okay. But no, it's funny. Roland is now in 11th grade. He's come a long way. He's definitely going places. So it's kind of cool to see the kids grow up. But we just had all these different kids. And then if you remember from the last episode, there was Ashley and there was Clarissa, right? Now, Ashley was the reason Monica and Tiara got in that fight in the last episode. And then Clarissa was the really young one who just always wanted to be involved in everything and always said whatever came into her mind. But they had a younger sister named Willow, who I don't remember if I told it in the last episode, but they used to always sneak Willow into the center because she was too young. She was only 4. And the reason they would sneak her in was because they would have Tiara do her hair in the corner. So, you'd come in and you just hear this screaming, ah! Ah! And you're like, what is that? And it's because, they got Tiara trying to comb through the girl hair and twist and braid and pull and plait. And yeah, they used to turn the center into a hair salon in that corner by the window. I'm like, listen. And so every time Willow would see either me or Ava, she'd just run out the door because she knew she wasn't supposed to be in there. It would be so cute. But now she was old enough to come. And so you had Willow there. But the most memorable member that came that year, right? We had our first white kid, this kid named Zach, right? Zach was my road dog. Zach was funny to me. I enjoyed when he was at the center. But he ended up joining the center because Clarissa invited him. They were in the same class, and she told him about the center, and she wanted him to come. So I remember this one time, we're doing snack and announcements in the big room. I'm talking about whatever is going to be happening in the rest of the week. We're going to have the spelling bee next week, so make sure you study your words. And out of nowhere, the door opens. Zach walks in. He's like, what's up? And I'm like, huh? Wait, what? I didn't know if he was lost or something because there weren't really any white kids in the area. Like in that entire neighborhood, there was only one white resident. It was this older woman who used to always talk to me about country music if I saw her on the sidewalk. She loved to talk about Brooks and Dunn. And so I knew that the kid was not her child because she definitely was in her 60s and she was single and she'd never married or had kids or anything. And I'm like, oh, well, so I'm trying to figure out like, he must be lost. Oh, well, we're going to help you find your mom. And then before I could really process what was going on, Clarissa's like, Zach! And I'm like, oh, okay, this is your friend. Okay, cool. So as I'm kind of introducing Zach to everybody, because mind you, he's just coming here with no adult or anything. So I don't know what the move is. Finally, his mother walks in. She comes in about 3 minutes after he came in, and she comes in with 2 of his sisters. And what's so funny about Zach's mom, if you used to watch Roseanne back in the day, remember Roseanne had that really snooty neighbor, Kathy Bowman? She had lived in Chicago and she was pissed because she had to move into Roseanne's neighborhood, so she kind of thought she was better than everyone. And she spoke like this, just very upscale and elegant from the upper echelons of society. And then when she actually went to Roseanne's house that time and started sneezing, heep, heep, I'm allergic to dust. Like, that was Zach's mom. And so Zach is kind of standing there, and so I'm like, oh, hello, well, welcome. Well, this is our center, and, if you're interested in registering, I can give you a form and everything. And Zach's mom is very reserved. She's trying to not look like a terrible person because she does not want her boy to come to this center because she looked terrified, to be honest. But Zach is, understand, in conversations of race and all that, kids are kids. Kids just want to have fun. They don't see the world the way adults do. They haven't been compromised and tarnished yet. So they're still bright-eyed and all is well in the land of kidland. So, she's like, okay, well, we'll see what we're going to do. I'm going to check it out a little bit, and I'll see how this fits in with his karate and piano lessons. So we'll come back on tomorrow, all right? Okay, all right, come on, Zach. And so I'm like, I was telling Ava, I don't think Zach coming back, but we'll see. But you know what? The next day, Zach's mama came back, and it was so funny because I was in the computer lab. I had just done a lesson with my high schoolers. There was a whole lot going on in the world at the time. There was some stuff going on with Syria and everything. And so we were talking about that, and we had our notes and stuff written on the board. And so when she had come in, I was in the lab. Ava was in the big room with some of the other kids. Chase, Mr. Bandit, right? Chase was on one of them computers in the back, and maybe 3 other kids on the game, and a few teenagers, and then the rest of the kids were outside. And so I'm in the room. Zach's mom comes in, and I'm giving her the registration forms and everything. Now, mind you, at the time, to register, it was just $25 a year. That's it. But I still treated Zach's mom the same way I treat every parent. And so I said, okay, well, the membership is $25 for the school year. If financially it's an issue, we can do a payment plan. I couldn't wait to say that part to her. We can do a payment plan. We can, we have scholarships available if it's a burden. She looked at me so sideways. My husband is a colonel in the Army, because her husband worked at Fort Belvoir, which was maybe about 20 minutes down the road. My husband is a colonel in the Army. Okay, all right. I just got to say this to everybody. I can't, pick and choose and judge people. I just wanted to make sure that you knew the information was there. And so she looks at the board, and she sees this thing that says World War III on it. And it's the notes from our Syria discussion with the teenagers. And she's, do you have the expertise for that kind of conversation with the younger ones? I was like, oh no, this was our conversation with the teenagers. Oh, all right. Well, I guess I have some recommendations of maybe who you should look into. I don't know if this is really your expertise. And I'm looking at her like, woman, if you only knew who I was. But anyway, that was the other thing. I always kept the whole YouTube world and my personal life separate. So at that point in time, the kids had no idea that I had an internet, anything going on. And so while I'm getting her the registration form for Zach, because mind you, Zach is in the other room already having a ball. He's on the foosball table with the kids. They getting it in. His 2 sisters wanted to join as well, but mom was not letting the sisters join, just Zach, all right? And so while they're registering, I'm going over the details with everything. Out of nowhere, all I hear is, die, nigga, die. I'm like, huh? I look over, it's Chase. Chase is on one of them stupid games again, and he done got 2 into the zone. And so before I could get to him, Ava heard it from the other room, was like, Chase, out, go. Just sent Chase back in the other room. Zach's mom was so uncomfortable. She didn't say anything, but you could just see it in her face. I was like, Lord, bless this lady, because she gonna go into cardiac arrest, dropping her son off over here with us. But look, Zach fit right in. I treated him just like I treated the rest of the kids, but I will say, I gave all the other kids a heads up, because I felt like she was going to be a problem if something ever went wrong, because she also wanted the information to, the headquarters and who would be the supervisors and who to reach out. I'm like, you moving around here like something's going to happen to your son. If you are uncomfortable, just don't bring him. But anyway, I remember I had a conversation with all the kids right before we played dodgeball this one time. I was like, listen, let me tell all of y'all right now, Zach is one of us. However, he is going to move a little different, because if y'all hit him in the face too hard with one of these balls, it is going to show. So I need y'all to not bruise him or anything, because I don't want to deal with his mama, okay? Because my kids were a little rough. We played real rough. Dodgeball, soccer, a bunch of games that I used to make up. These kids were tough. They would fall, scab their knee, blood gushing out. They still keep running and just playing like it was nothing. And I did not want Zach to get a scab, scratch, nothing, because I didn't want to deal with his mama and her lawsuits. And mind you, his mom did not work, so she had all the time in the world to get on my nerves. So fortunately, Zach fit right in with everybody else, even when it came to the food, because again, we had kids who were from all around the world. When the kids would come in, and sometimes they would bring food from their respective countries, Zach would be right there chewing, over there eating up everything. Me too, to be honest. I put on about 20 pounds by the time I left the center, and I attribute most of that to the parents that used to bring me dishes. The parents were always trying to feed me. They would stay bringing me peanut butter soup and jollof rice and all these different dishes, and so I was just in there chewing, having me a good time. So life was great. And then there was Hurricane Sandy, right? Now, Hurricane Sandy initially started out as a Category 3 over in Cuba, and it worked its way up the East Coast. It hit like the DC metropolitan area and then ended up hitting and tearing up New York. And so we knew the storm was coming, right? And the centers were going to be closed for obvious reasons, for weather and stuff. But Boss Lady insists that we're still going to be doing work while the hurricane is coming. So she was like, I have a list of all the tasks that you guys are going to do because you guys are going to work from home on those days. And I'm like, it's a hurricane. What kind of nonsense? Why are you worried about work? And Boss Lady's like, well, it's only a Category 1, Category 2. I said, it's still a hurricane. Ain't nobody about to be doing no work. And at this point, there had been some shifts with the staffing. Alex had transitioned out, and they replaced him with this guy named Daniel, who Daniel was somebody that always did the freaking most. Spirit of too much. Always tied into something crazy. Like, Daniel was the kind of person where if there was, I don't know, an anthill in the grass, some people will just, spray or just leave them alone. But no, he'd be the person where he tries to burn an anthill and set it on fire. But he puts too much kerosene and ends up burning up the entire front yard, and the fire spreads to the house and burns the house down. That's how he moved. Just always doing a little too much. Kind of like the action movies where it's like the police and they're going after, I guess, the criminals and everything. And while they go through the speed chase, they wreck 12 cars, they blow up a mall, a helicopter falls out of the sky, they sink a cruise ship, and then they burn down an entire church. And then at the end of the movie, it's like, oh, you destroyed all this stuff, you got $20 million in damage, but you got the job done. Good job. That's how he moved. So you had him, and then Carrie had left out. And I was pissed about Carrie leaving, because Carrie, that was my road dog next to Ava. Like, Carrie was the one who went and chewed all the kids out after they chased the deer onto the parkway. But Carrie wanted to be a music teacher because that's what she really liked to do. And so she transitioned and became a music teacher at, one of the nearby elementary schools. So I was like, good for her. And so they replaced her with this girl, Michigan. Now, Michigan was, I can't even be too harsh on her because, to be fair, when I came into this position, I too didn't have a whole lot of work experience, and a lot of my experience had nothing to do with working with kids, so she was kind of in that same boat. But they coddled her, and it used to drive me crazy. But anyway, so it's hurricane time, and Boss Lady's like, I want all of you guys to give me a list of all the things you're going to be doing, and then we're going to check in, and we're going to do some calls and all this. Now, mind you, this is supposed to happen while the storm is blowing everybody's roof off. And so I'm like, F that and F y'all. And honestly, there wasn't anything to do. The problem with Boss Lady was that she just loved the idea of power, and she always wanted to make sure that everybody earned every dollar they made. She would never let you have a moment to just breathe. They used to be so irritating, and sometimes there would just be moments, and even in a lot of jobs, sometimes there's moments where there actually just isn't any work to do because everything has been done. This was one of those moments when all of the grant reporting had been handled, the forms or any documents that needed to be submitted for anything, all of that was taken care of. I had already done all the paperwork for the snack folks. There was nothing to do, plus the center was closed. And so at this point, it was Boss Lady making up things for us to do just to say that we did it. Kind of like that idea of digging up a hole and refilling it just because. And so I'm at the house enjoying my time off, right? I had a few friends who stayed over. I had cooked. I made a low country boil. We had shrimp with the sausage and the corn and the potatoes and some crab legs and everything, because I was like, just in case this storm gets real bad, let's make sure we at least have one good last meal. And so fortunately, the storm was not too bad. It was terrible outside, but our power never went out. Our roof stayed intact. And I think by the time it hit our area, because we were so far inland as well, I think we only had like Category 1 winds, but still, it's a hurricane. So I'm enjoying my time off. I keep getting these stupid emails from Michigan. Hey, we didn't receive your document that you were supposed to send this morning at 11 a.m. I looked at that email, whatever, and kept doing whatever I was doing. And then she sends like a follow-up email like an hour and a half later. Hey, just doubling back, we still didn't get this form. And mind you, I'm like, y'all don't know if my house has gotten blown away and I'm under a tree right now, and you worried about some form that has, it would make no difference between today and tomorrow. Just some stupid form about something they had threw together, something just dumb, right? I think what we were doing, because the hurricane hit around October, right before Halloween, I think the assignment was something about like mapping out the plans for spring break camp. And mind you, spring break ain't for like 4 or 5 months. Please, ain't nobody think about no spring break. So then boss lady tries to call. I just knew not to answer. I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna act like my phone don't work. This storm is bad. And so I didn't answer. Yo, by the time the storm was over and we all came back to work, the way boss lady chewed me out and tried to let me have it, and I was just looking at her like she was crazy. Because at that point, I was contemplating on quitting the job. I was like, I don't want to do this anymore. Like, I love the kids, but I'm not making any money. And it's not even about the money, but it's also about understanding your value and like recognizing when you're being treated right. Because there were a whole bunch of instances where I was just like, they are doing us all kind of wrong around here. I'll get into that in a moment, but I was over it. So boss lady sitting here chewing me out. I'm over here looking at her like I done already applied to Booz Allen Hamilton. So I'm like, all right. I was moving like, psh. And then I was also thinking about going to grad school for music. So I was really like, yeah, okay. All right, boss lady. Yeah, she was like, you really need to work on changing your mindset. I said, no, the hell. All right, I'm about to change my mind about working in this mother. That's what we want to talk about. But and then there was the time that everybody had to get this CPR training that was just over the top. And mind you, I already had beef with boss lady about this because me and Ava already had our first aid and CPR training plug because there was a guy that came to our center on the third Thursdays of every month at 7 p.m. and he would do CPR and first aid for the residents of the neighborhood for $25. And so, I was like, perfect. And so we were just going to use him, but boss lady was like, oh no, we have a partnership and this is going to be the best of the best training. So that's what we're going to use. Man, let me tell y'all what the best of the best was. She had us go all the way down to some random part of Virginia to Everest College to take the class. Everest College was one of our partners at the time. I wasn't crazy over the partnership because I didn't like the fact that a lot of the other centers, when they would partner with colleges and universities, they would get, Bowie State, Morgan State, Howard, a lot of the nice schools, VCU, all these nice schools. And then my kids got to get the for-profit accelerated program college that ended up being a scam where the school wasn't accredited and all those people lost their money because their degrees didn't mean anything, and now all of those people got their loans forgiven because the government realized, okay, that school scammed them. But yeah, that was the partnership my kids got to go to. So I was never a fan of the Everest thing. But anyway, so we go way out into whatever part of Virginia to go to the Everest campus, or excuse me, the building, because it was a 2 or 3 story building, and in this building was going to be the nursing program, the dental hygienist program, and like 2 other programs, and you go in your classroom and come out with your degree. And so we go in there, and mind you, this was the longest training. I was like, why is this thing so long? Because mind you, had we just gone with the guy that comes on the third Thursdays to my center, his training was an hour and a half, right? And so this training at Everest, I don't know what this was. I was like, boss lady, you tried it. Because first of all, we had to ride forever and a day to get there. And then we go into this classroom, and then the instructor who's going to be teaching the class, he goes and he rolls in this big old TV, like one of them TVs with the big long backs that you used to see back in the 90s. Okay, this was kind of like watching your 4th or 5th grade teacher roll in the TV to put on Magic School Bus if you were a kid that went to elementary school in the 90s. That's what it was. It was like, okay, this is real Magic School Bus, Bill Nye the Science Guy-ish at the moment. So he rolls in his TV and he pulls out this big old VHS tape. I'm like, I know that ain't a VHS tape I see. And so he pops that tape in, and I'm like, oh Lord. So this is one of them tapes that looks like it was shot in 1991. I'm just looking at the fashions. I'm looking at the windbreaker suit. I was like, you know what? And so, because I'm thinking like, CPR, a lot of times the rules with CPR update and change over time. So I'm like, I wonder if what's on this video is even current. But he puts in the tape. He has to keep pushing the tracking on the VCR to kind of clean up the picture, because back in the day, if you put in a VHS, sometimes the picture's a little spotty. So you push the tracking button to kind of stretch the tape, and then it will clear the picture. So he's clearing the picture. So we watched this long video. I'm like, dang, man, this thing longer than the Sound of Music. At least Sound of Music had some songs you could sing along to. What are we doing in here? And so we watched this long video, and then the guy's like, okay, now I'm going to bring out your gadgets so that we can do compressions. I'm like, oh, okay, finally, we can do the fun part. Okay, some gadgets. Because again, boss lady said this is the best of the best. So I just know that since this is Everest College, and, I'm guessing this is the classroom for the nursing program, that they're going to bring out some stuff that you don't normally see at, CPR training. And so he brings out to me what kind of looks like pillows. I'm like, are these pillows? I was like, I feel like I seen one of these at TJ Maxx or Ross or something. Wait a minute. And so apparently they weren't pillows. I swear they were pillows. They look like pillows to me. But, they bring out these pillows and they make us do compressions. And, you just compress and compress and compress. So we do compressions for an hour, right? And at this point, I'm like, I was like, I think we got it. I think we got the stuff down. And he's like, oh no, we have a certain time threshold we have to meet, so we just got to keep doing them. So everybody just keep compressing. Look, everybody's arms are starting to hurt, everybody tired and everything. And so we've just done compressions, and because again, these were not like the cool mannequin dolls that you can do the compressions with where they have the mouthpiece and you put the little plastic down. None of that. These literally just had to be pillows. So we would just do compressions and then pretend to do the mouth part. I'm like, this is so stupid. And so I swear it had been almost 2.5, 3 hours by the time you added in the video and the compressions. And then finally he's like, okay, and that completes our CPR training. I'm like, oh, thank you, God. We're out of here. You know, me and Ava are already plotting about, you know, what spots we saw on the way here that we can grab some food from, because they had no food for us. We in here hungry. And boss lady didn't even stay for the training. She knew everybody in the building. So she's running all around and laughing. She got the nerve to come back in there with Starbucks. The rest of us in here parched, hungry, stomach growling, mind you. And so we're thinking it's over. And he's like, now we'll start the first aid training. I'm like, oh my God, come on. And so, yeah, that was a 6.5 hour training. Ridiculous. I'm like, that's the stuff I be talking about. It's just no consideration for time of other people. Just do any and everything. The nerve. Now, one of the things I did enjoy was we actually had a soccer league. I thought it was so cool. It was a lot of fun. One of the things I'll definitely give Daniel credit for was that he was very creative and innovative when it came to any kind of athletic activities with the kids. That's where he was good. That's where he would shine. Anything else, I was like, bro, just keep doing the athletic stuff because that's your gift. Anything else, don't worry about it because you about to stress us out. The 3 sites in our region had been eligible for this grant that would allow us to have sports, which was really cool. But the problem was, because my center did not have a gym, we couldn't do basketball. We didn't have a real field, we couldn't do football. We didn't have a baseball diamond, we couldn't do baseball. We had a backyard with a little patch of grass, and they were like, you know what, y'all can do soccer. And so we ended up having a soccer league. And it was so funny because the backyard had so much stuff in it. Like the backyard had all of these different hazards, so it really wasn't the best place to practice because there was this big giant cement block that just sat smack in the middle of the backyard. Then there was this big tall electrical box that just pretty much gave power to the entire building and the 2 buildings that were adjacent to us as well. Then there were these 2 big giant trees, right? And then to the other side, there was this big old hole that was about 2 feet deep in the ground. We don't know why it was always there. And every time they would fill it up, the hole would still reappear a few weeks later. And there was a creek on the other side. And so a lot of times, a lot of animals and different creatures and stuff would show up. Like we'd be in the back and it's like, all right, y'all, come on inside. The skunks done came back because there was a mama skunk, and mama skunk had about 4 baby skunks. And the skunks had been around so long that the baby skunks got grown and somehow more skunks popped up. I don't know if the 4 baby skunks procreated with each other. I don't know, but there were like 8 skunks in the neighborhood. And so every time the skunks came out, we needed to go inside. And it didn't help that the kids were always inquisitive. There was this one kid that used to always try to chase all the animals. And I'm like, listen, let me tell you, if you get skunked, just know you ain't coming here for about 3-4 weeks until that smell is gone. So get skunked if you want to. So the skunks were there. There's a shopping center, like I said, where the dollar store and everything else was. There was a shopping center nearby. And so a lot of times the stray cats would also come back there and set up shop. In addition to the possums that were back there. And also sometimes you see a fox. So I was like, the backyard was a lot back there. It was Jumanji in the backyard. So I didn't always want to go back there, especially after about October, because now it's dark after, about 4:30, and we didn't have practice until 5. So when we practiced, we'd have to practice in the back, and the kids would be going over drills, and you look and you start seeing those eyes reflecting. Come on, everybody. Let's come on back inside. Come on. Let's go. Let's go. And all the kids would be like, man, come on. I don't even know what animal that is, but we're not about to find out because let's go. Now, initially, Daniel was going to try to be the soccer coach for both of the teams at my center, be the soccer coach for the teams at the basement club, and the soccer coach for the Herndon location, and this other random team that wasn't one of our centers, but they joined and had a group as well. And there was just no way for them to do that because boss lady was like, no, you're going to be at the basement location and actually work there, so you won't be coaching at all these places. And so I was like, oh, well, that's fine with me. I'll coach my kids because, hey, guess who used to play soccer for years? So I couldn't wait. I had a ball being a soccer coach, but them kids, man, they knew how to take you there. And the very first day of practice, now mind you, I'm all excited to be coach. I got my little whistle and stuff. I was ready, These kids got the crying, man. Listen, and it wasn't because anybody got hurt or the kids sucked. They were all crying because everybody wanted to be on offense. Everybody wanted to be a forward, or like the kids would call it, they all wanted to be strikers. And it was because, they liked watching Messi and all of them. And so they wanted to be like Messi. They wanted to just score all the points and, yeah, we're going to score. And so I remember I had mapped this all out. I looked at each kid that was on the team. Remember, it was 14 kids in total, 7 on the little kids team, 7 on the big kids team. So I'm like, okay, well, this person and that person, I'm going to make those two my forwards for this team because they're really good at precision and getting things as far as like most likely hitting the goals. Okay, I'm going to have these two definitely be my halfbacks or play the middle because they have stamina. They can run back and forth. They can be offense and defense. Perfect. I'm going to have these two be defense because, yeah, they can definitely hold down the fort. And I automatically knew for the older team, I knew this girl Crystal was going to be my goalie because Crystal was the most athletic kid in the neighborhood. There was no sport she couldn't play. She could play everything. Football, basketball, soccer. She could swim backwards. She could do everything. And she just had heart. Like, she was our Serena Williams. And so I was like, yeah, Crystal is going to be my prized possession this season. My kids ain't losing nothing with her as the goalie, right? And so I did that for both teams. Now, I can't remember who was the goalie for the little kids team, but for the big kids team, Crystal was my goalie. She was in 4th or 5th grade, and she was best friends with Ashley. And Ashley was on the team. And so I let Ashley just be on defense so the two of them could be in the back talking until the ball got to them. And so I had this mapped out. When I told everybody, hey, okay, so these are your positions, all of the kids who were not gonna be forwards or strikers got to crying. So mind you, that's definitely like that was like 10 kids that were pissed off with me, right? Man, I'm not gonna play that. I'm supposed to be striker. I'm gonna score. And so I'm trying to explain to the kids, well, listen, I made you the halfback because you're so special that you're gonna play offense and defense because you run so fast and you can just do both. Doesn't that sound cool? No, I don't want to be on this stupid team. I'm like, well, get the hell on in. That's what I wanted to say. I didn't say it, though. And so everybody was mad, and it was so funny because there was this kid, Otis. If you remember from the earlier episode, Otis was one of the greedy kids at the center. I had 2 kids that were really greedy. JJ, that was the kid who was half deaf in one ear, and that was the one who took the piece of shrimp out of my hand when I was trying to eat it. And then there was Otis. Otis was the one who just had this nose that could smell everything. You could never sneak food into the center because he was going to discover it, especially if you were bringing something for everybody and you were trying to, I don't know, give it as a surprise. Sometimes I would come in there with stuff and I'd try to hide it in the kitchen, and at the end of homework time or something, then I'd bring it out. But Otis would ruin it every single time because somehow he could smell. It didn't matter what it was. Mr. Michael brought donuts. Otis, shh, quiet. Mr. Michael brought cake. Oh, Mr. Michael brought pizza. I'm like, man, will you stop that? Mr. Michael brought ice cream. I'm like, how can you even smell the ice cream? It is sealed and frozen and there is no smell. How do you know? And so, anyway, Clarissa was hot with Otis this day. Mind you, Otis had the biggest crush on Clarissa. It was kind of cute. But Clarissa was pissed because I made her be defense, right? Because Clarissa didn't like to run too much at that point in time. She was real stationary. She didn't like to move around as much. So I was like, you know what? Okay, well, I'm going to have you be the defense. That way, you don't have to burn yourself out trying to be a halfback or a forward doing all that running. You really only have to move when it comes to your zone and protect the zone and work with the goalie. Cool. So I make her one of the people on defense, and she was pissed because Otis got to be a halfback, and Otis, to her, she thought she was more athletic than Otis. So Otis was in this happy mood because he had been selected to be a halfback, so he was bragging about how he was going to be scoring everything. And so I told all the kids, all right, you guys stretch, I'm going to go get us some water and some Gatorade, and then we're going to run some drills. I come back 3 minutes later, Otis is laid out by the bush screaming. I'm like, what's wrong with Otis? Oh, you would have thought like Otis got hit upside the head with a baseball bat. I'm like, what is the problem? Clarissa, attack me! Huh? Clarissa! Wait a minute, what happened? And Clarissa knew she messed up because Clarissa was one of the kids that did not like to get in trouble. And so she knew because I thought the world of all the kids. And so the biggest thing is the kids never wanted to disappoint Mr. Michael because I could really make them feel bad when they did dumb stuff. I didn't really yell at kids too much. I did a little bit of yelling in the first year or two and I learned how to kind of maneuver, but I didn't do a lot of yelling. That was Ava. Ava be the one lighting everybody up. But they did not like to disappoint me. And it's so funny because it's still that way today. Now, mind you, pretty much every kid mentioned in this podcast, all of them are now adults. Chase is an adult, Monica's an adult. All of these kids are grown. These kids are grown or in college, and some of them are past college at this point. And so Clarissa literally just graduated from high school 2 days ago. But a lot of times when they have stuff going on in their lives as adults, they will still reach out. Or, when I'll just kind of do a check-in, especially to the ones in college. If they haven't done so hot during that semester, they are so afraid to tell me because they just swear they don't want to disappoint me. I love it. That just means, it just shows that you do make an impact. So, amen to that. But anyway, Clarissa had got annoyed with Otis because Otis was so excited to be a halfback. He was excited to play the middle because that meant that he would get to score. So he was bragging, and he wouldn't stop rubbing it into Clarissa's face that he was going to be scoring all the points while she stayed in the back working defense. And so she got so mad and went straight up to him. And mind you, Otis was a little chunky little kid back in the day. She went straight up to him, punched him dead in the stomach as hard as she could with all of her might. And I mean, she laid this boy out because it hurts to get punched in the stomach, especially when you're little. That is not comfortable at all. And then you add the fact that it happens in front of other kids, and so you also add in the humiliation and the embarrassment and the fact that you're a boy and it's a girl that did it to you. And mind you, it's little second grade Clarissa and second grade Otis. So he was out cold. He was done, laying on the ground, hollering and everything. And Clarissa's hiding on the other side of the bush in tears. I ain't even got to her yet. She knew she was in trouble. And I'm like, Clarissa, why? He just won't stop talking to me. Oh, okay, you know what? How about everybody just go inside? We're just not going to have practice today because y'all doing too much. Eventually, everything would come together with the soccer teams, and it was kind of cool. I had my big kid team, I had my little kid team. We were about a week away from the first game. The jerseys had been ordered because, hey, aiming for this grant that gave us some money to play with. So the jerseys had been ordered, and even the jerseys had their names on it. So it was like super official. The kids felt real special. And then on top of that, we also had money out of this grant that also would cover cheerleading. And so Ava would take over the cheerleading, and so literally Ava would be in the front with the cheerleaders. I would be in the back with the soccer kids, and so we were on the move. And one of the cool things, because like I've said, partnerships are everything, there was a nearby restaurant that we had partnered with, and they made a deal with us where pretty much they wanted us to bring the cheerleaders to their restaurant and pass out flyers and cheer and entertain all the different guests, and then on those specific days where they would come, a certain percentage of what they brought in from revenue will come to our center. I was like, okay, we can do that. So Ava had them kids out there practicing. They was doing all kind of routines and catering the routines specifically for the restaurant to, have it fit with different names of the items on the menu. Like, it was really, really cool. And then Monica wanted to join the soccer team. And I was 100% in support of it, but the problem was all of the deadlines had passed because I had to have everything put in by a certain time over to Daniel so that he could order the jerseys and all the slots and everything. And mind you, all of this was free. The kids didn't have to pay anything, right? And so we got everything covered. And so Monica was like, I want to join soccer. And I had told her, I was like, man, Monica, I would love for you to join, but I don't think I can add you on just because, there's only 7 slots for each team, and that would give our team 8. But so what I'm going to do is I'm going to check in with Mr. Daniel and see what we can do. But before she would even receive that, she went straight to level 10 on me. What? So my mom, she done went and bought all this stuff. She done bought these cleats. She done bought these shin guards. She done bought this stuff. You going to tell me I'm not going to be on the team? I was like, wait a minute. And I'm confused because she and I have never had a conversation about her joining the team. So I'm like, why would your mom buy all this stuff if you didn't know you were on the team? And so I was like, Monica, just let me talk to Mr. Daniel and I'm going to come back to you with what happens. And so Monica wasn't having that. Monica went and got her mama. And of course, mind you, remember, her mama came and thought she was going to cuss me out in the last episode after I suspended Monica that time. She said she was going to slap Ava. And so here come Monica mama. So, y'all just discriminating against my daughter. No, she used to come here so much with some stuff, we would just be over it. Like, it was like, we don't even entertain her no more. Y'all just trying to discriminate against my daughter. No, look, here's the thing. I told all the kids a month and a half ago that we were going to have a soccer league. I put flyers up. I even sent flyers home to all of you through your children. And we also put announcements on the Facebook page because, hey, we had a Facebook page to make announcements and everything. Like, the information has been there. The kids have been practicing for a month. They have a game in 4 days. And so we are well established. I would love for Monica to join. But right now, I'm not 100% sure that she's going to be allowed to participate with this specific season because all of the slots are full. Each team can only have 7 people. She would be our 8th person. yo, so I done bought these shin guards, bought these cleats, bought all this stuff, bought headbands and sweatbands. And see, this is how I know kids sometimes emulate exactly what their parents say, because I'm like, okay, this is where Monica is getting all this from. And I was like, ma'am, it's an indoor soccer league. The kids don't need cleats. They don't need shin guards because we already provided them. They don't need to buy anything. Everything was free. And I also was annoyed because at the same time, Monica knew we were in the back practicing every day. She was at the club. She knew what was up. And so she watched us practice all these different days and everything, but she would never come back there or inquire because she was, listen, all the girls were obsessed with mindless behavior at the time. They were in the computer lab watching that Girls Talking About music video, or watching the what's the song? I don't know these things. The girl, my girl, she loved me. Whatever that song was. They used to love watching that. They watched all, Mrs. Right, whatever the song was. That's what they were doing all day. She and because at this point, her and Tierra are good now. They didn't have their fight, and now they're obsessed with mindless behavior. So they're sitting and watching mindless behavior videos all day. And I remember they would pause the screen and then scream and then cry and then rewind and watch it again. And I was like, okay, so that's what Monica was doing. So it's like, listen, all of a sudden you don't get to just show up just because you feel like it when the other kids have put in the work. I'm still willing to give you an olive branch and give you an opportunity if this is something you want to do, but we're not going to move in a way where automatically I'm supposed to stop, drop, and roll because you and your mama said so, because I ain't scared of your mama. I'm certainly not afraid of you, young lady. Now, fortunately, she was able to join, and I really didn't want to leave her out because she really just needed something to belong to. Like, one of the things, as much as she used to work my nerves, and as much as she was a bully to the other kids, I just always felt that if she could be a part of something where she had to work with other kids, and they were in that space where there's an interdependent relationship, she'd get along with the other kids a lot better, and maybe she'd kind of change her demeanor. So I really wanted her to do the soccer. And so soccer was lit. These kids were so good, so talented. Every game was just a blowout. We were laying these other centers out. It wasn't even close. And so I think we had about 8 weeks for the games. Like, there was a game every week. Now, the only thing I didn't like, it was an all-day affair. Like, we would get to the location where we would play at. If there was another center we went to that had an indoor gym, we'd get there, I think, at about, 4:30, and the day would not be over till like 8:30, 9 o'clock, because all of the teams had to play their games at this location. And so I think there were 4 teams total, and so both teams that you brought were going to play. The little kids were going to play their game, and then your big kids were going to play their game. And, so it was all day kind of thing. But it would be kind of dope because once we got there, I didn't even have to do much because I guess I coached them pretty well. Like, literally the game would start, and I would just be on the sidelines enjoying the game. And, if there was timeout or something, I would say, hey, I think let's do this. Let's have you two switch and blah, 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 blah. But I didn't have to really, be the coach that's running up and down the field with the kids and telling them what to do and pay attention. They had it. They just, and they worked so well together, both the little kids team and the big kids team. I enjoyed every minute of that. And so both teams were undefeated, and they were going to make it to the playoffs, and they were going to have the final championship. And if they won, they'd get this really nice trophy. Now, this was where we got to the point where I blew up at Boss Lady. To start, the whole year, everybody was getting on my nerves. Not Ava, not my kids, but just some of the people in the organization. A lot of the folks at the basement location were really trying it. John from the Herndon location used to always try it and say some stuff I didn't like. And so I was already just kind of in a space where I'm like, you know what? And so there were all these different things that took place. One small thing that it wasn't small in that moment, but my mom had actually come to visit, which was great, right? And my mother had been sick. She had to have some surgery. And so I hadn't seen her since I had moved. So it had been a good year and some change. And the last time I saw my mother, my mother she had thyroid disease, so her weight was always up and down. So when I left to come back to this side for this job, her weight was kind of up. And so when she came to visit me, I had never seen her that skinny before. She hadn't been that skinny since I was a little kid. So I knew oh yeah, she was 6'6", because she didn't really tell me everything that was going on. My parents, for some reason, every time one of them was sick, they would never share stuff, and I'd have to find out once I saw them in person. The same thing happened with my dad. And so my mother was a little sickly, and she came to visit, and she came for about a week or two. We had a great time, but I remember we were having a staff meeting, and Boss Lady wanted us to work on a Sunday. And that specific Sunday, they were going to be having this 5K race for one of the companies that partners with us again, right? And so they wanted to have this 5K race. The race was going to be at 6 or 7 in the morning. It's like some sunrise type of thing. And they wanted us to bring kids because they needed the kids to be the participants. And they also wanted the staff to do the run as well. Great. Sounds like a great time. But the problem is, It's going to be on a Sunday, and it's the morning where I plan to take my mom to the airport because she needs to fly back home to Washington, where she lived at the time. And so we're having this meeting, and I tell boss lady, like, listen, I don't know if I'm going to be able to come to this because, you know, my mother's in town, and that's going to be the day that I take her to the airport and everything. And boss lady goes, can't you just put her in a cab? And I looked, Ava almost fell out of her seat looking at me because she was like, oh, please, Michael, don't do it. Because I had already been annoyed. So I had been waiting for boss lady to give me a reason to just pop off. And so I said, listen, my parents paid for my college out of pocket and I have no debt. So my mother will always get a ride to the airport for me. No, as much as my mama get on my nerves on occasion, my mother will get everything out of me and whatever she wants because my mother has always been good to me. And listen, my mother is one step from half sick. I'm not about to just throw her in the cab and toss her out so I can get in a rush to come to work on my day off. So no, she will not be getting in a cab, like the nerve. And so boss lady couldn't understand why I was offended. I'm like, how you gonna tell me to just throw my mom in a cab so I can come to work? My mama is here for me and my day off is my day off. I could see if this was on a Monday or a Tuesday or a day where we actually had to do actual work, but this is a Sunday. It's one thing when we already got to give up Saturdays. Now we giving up Sundays. You don't even know where I am religiously. I might be all super deep and not even do nothing on Sundays. I just pray and have bread and water. You don't know what I do. So I wasn't having it. So I was already sitting on that. But the bigger blow up was we were having a meeting. And it was so funny because this meeting was at my center finally because we had always had to go to the basement location, which used to piss me off because we'd have to drive 30 minutes over there. And the basement location, there was just a dark energy in there. It was weird because it was in a church, but it was just a dark energy there. Like it just, every time we went there, nothing good would ever happen. One time they tried to fire Ava for no reason, just because Ava still had class and they wanted somebody that could be there 5 days a week. So they were going to try to fire Ava, not because she did anything wrong, but because the basement staff location was complaining because they were tired of having to send somebody to my site on Tuesdays and Thursdays. And I'm like, well, you know what? When we brought her on, she was very upfront and vocal about her schedule, and this was not anything new. So no, we're not going to use that against her. And how y'all just going to take away my staff? And mind you, she's built a relationship with the kids, and the fact that y'all think she's just disposable like that just because y'all are pissed off over here with the shenanigans y'all got at this center. Please. So anyway, we're at my center. That was Dawn, by the way, who was leading that. Dawn was the one who had all this nasty attitude. I got some stories about her too. But anyway, we're at my center this day, and we're having this meeting, and Daniel's excited. He's telling boss lady about just how great the soccer league has been going, because the soccer league was great. It was amazing. Like, it was great. The kids were having a ball. Parents were donating snacks and stuff, so the kids would have juice and crackers and stuff after the game. It was actually really, it was a lot of fun. I enjoyed coaching. And, plus my kids were winning up everything. So, I couldn't wait to brag. So Daniel was like, we have this soccer tournament coming up. This is going to be, the top two teams. It's going to be Michael's kids and it's going to be the kids from this site. And it's going to be the tournament. And so what if we invite some of the board members and maybe a few people from headquarters to the tournament? Because again, this is a soccer league, and it's all of the kids that, are a part of this organization that we serve. And, it would be great if the board and some of these people could see the outcomes of their work and just let the kids get an opportunity to see who are the people behind the scenes that are working for them. And I 100% agreed with Daniel on this. He and I were on the same page, finally. And so boss lady goes, well, I don't think we can do that because, they're busy. They have lots of things to do. And for some reason, when I say that set me off, like that was the nuclear option. It had been detonated on my end. There was no filter at this point. I was going to say whatever came to my mind. And I think what made it even more intense was when she said that. She said it while she was chewing one of the donuts that I had just bought for this meeting. And mind you, side note, when it came to getting these donuts, I always had beef with the donut lady. Like, there was a Krispy Kreme not too far away, and what used to piss me off was every time I'd go in that drive-thru and place my order, the donut lady would always cut me off. I think that's the rudest thing you can do. Like, I will never give people a hard time that work in food service because it's already hard enough to deal with rude customers. I'm always cordial. I'm always pleasant. I try to be warm because you just never know what kind of day somebody is having, and I don't want to be that customer that sets the person off and now everybody that was in that restaurant is a hashtag. So I'm always like cordial with everybody, but the thing that she would always do is just cut you off mid-sentence, mid-word while you're trying to take the order. So you're like, hey, can I get 2 original glazed or assorted? And I used to be like, oh my God, man, can you not do that? And so you'd say, okay, well listen, I want a dozen original glazed, a dozen. Yes, and for the assorted, and then like Krispy Kreme always changes it, so I'd be trying to say which two. Okay, I want two of these, two of those, and she just keep cutting you off and cutting you off. And so this day, we get the order, and then the order's wrong, and it's wrong because she wasn't listening, and it was because she kept cutting me off and rushing me. Like, I'm not trying to be rude, but it wasn't like you had anywhere to go in that moment. Like, the place just opened, it's early, right? And nobody was behind me, so it wasn't like we were stopping traffic and I was taking too long. And so I was so annoyed because she got the order wrong. So I'm trying to be pleasant. I'm not going to yell. I'm like, hey, these ones are not the ones I ordered. I wanted that's not what you said. You know what? All right, okay. Well, either way, I still want the other ones. So, she had attitude, so she finally gives me the ones that I wanted. And it's not even about being difficult. It's just like, man, work with me here. So, mind you, going back to Boss Lady. So, I'm watching her chew these donuts that I done fought for my life for. Okay, all my life I had to fight. And mind you, I had paid for the donuts out of pocket. I was just trying to do a nice gesture because I was like, you know what? It's nice that they're coming to my center. Me and Ava don't gotta waste gas going way over there. So I'll make sure everybody has donuts, and let's just try it. And I'm paying out of pocket, okay? Because it ain't like we got a company card. If you remember episode 27, we didn't have a company card, or at least my center didn't. And Boss Lady, what she would do is she would just give us a Costco gift card for $150 every month, and now it's supposed to be supplies and everything. So I'm watching her chew this donut and dismiss Daniel's idea about the board coming to the meeting, and all I can sit on is her saying they're busy, they have lots of things to do. And it was like time had froze, and that's all I could hear just on repeat. They're busy, they have lots of things to do. They're busy, they have lots of things to do. They're busy, they have lots of things to do. And mind you, the meeting is still going. She's moved on to something else, and so it just hit me. I'm like, actually, you know what? I'm sorry, I gotta say this. I find it so funny that we have to stop, drop, and roll whenever headquarters needs something, whenever the board needs something, whenever you need something. It doesn't matter if it's a weekend. It doesn't matter if I have to put my mother in a cab. It's just whenever y'all need something, we have to stop, drop, and roll. We work for about a third of the weekends out of the year, and we don't get overtime. It's to the point where we even have a whole hurricane, and y'all are blowing us up about deliverables, and then you say yes to everything anytime somebody else asks, and then next thing you know, you got us driving other people's kids on our day off because there's not enough staff to do anything. There hasn't been a single member from headquarters or the board to even visit my center in the last year. Nobody knows what we're doing over there. We have all these great things going on, and nobody knows about it because nobody ever comes to any of the things that we invite them for. And then on my Tuesdays, I gotta be out of the door by 6:50 to go all the way to Tyson so I can make these 8 a.m. board meetings. And mind you, I'm not supposed to even clock in until 11, and I don't get paid for those extra hours, and I'm still expected to work until 7. And don't let there be a soccer game. I'm not getting home till 9 o'clock that night. And then we're all broke working here. Nobody's getting any raises because everything is already budgeted in. There's no money in the budget to give anybody a raise. We're over here getting paid in increments of struggle. And then if we want to take a vacation, we can barely take one because then you guilt us for wanting to take some time off because y'all want to talk about the fact that everybody's short-staffed and there's nobody to cover your shift when you're not here. So when you try to take a vacation, you can't even take one. You're not allowed to take vacation in the summer camp. You're not allowed to take vacation during spring camp. You're not allowed to take vacation during winter camp. When are we supposed to have some time off? Because then you get an attitude when we want to take off during the school year, and then we're always short-staffed. And it's to the point when I think about it, y'all don't even do nothing for the center when I think about this organization, because even the renovation that we got came from the rental office next door because the lady felt bad for us when she saw the roaches in the stove. And so you mean to tell me out of the 30 plus people on the board, not one of them can come to this tournament for 5 minutes and shake a hand and then leave? You mean to tell me they got that much going on? Really? Well, while I think about it, I've been ready to leave this job since I started because this is some nonsense. I'm tired of doing this crap. I'm ready to go right now. As a matter of fact, I should just go. And then I was like, shoot, did I say that out loud? I'm saying that part to myself, and I'm looking. Ava's crying. Like, Ava just knew I was getting fired in that moment. And it's like dead silent in the room. Boss Lady is just sitting there in silence, just looking, right? And I don't even know what's going on in her mind, and I'm thinking like, damn, I might have said too much. I didn't mean to say the part about quitting yet. I was like, I need to at least make sure I got something lined up first, because now I'm like, oh shoot, I should have at least made sure I paid rent before I started talking trash. But anyway, so Daniel's sitting there smiling, enjoying this. John is just sitting there. I don't know what was going on in John's head. He's just sitting there, almost like he's seen this a million times before with other people, right? And then all the staff from the basement location, they're all just kind of just sitting there. Michigan is, typing. She's supposed to be typing notes. I don't know if she was typing what I was fussing about, but she's there. Like I said, Ava's sitting there crying, and so it's dead silent. And then Ava jumps up and she's like, okay, why don't we all, let's just pause for a second. Like, Ava might have saved me that day, because Ava was trying to like ease the tension. And so Boss Lady was like, I think that's a good idea. why don't we do this? I'm going to end this meeting early. And mind you, it was the beginning of the meeting. Like, this was supposed to be like a 2-hour meeting. We were only about 20 minutes in because we had just gotten through the updates. Like, we always would start the meeting where we would give the updates of what's happening at all the centers, and then we go into the logistics of everything. So boss lady ended this meeting. She got up, she took her bag, got in her little Toyota Prius, and rolled up out of there. And then the other staff from the basement location, it was like dead silent. It was almost like, Michael, are you okay? I'm like, I'm fine. She needed to hear how I felt. Like, I felt real good after I said it all. I was like, you couldn't tell me nothing for like the next hour. I was on my high. Like, yeah, it's about time. Because while I'm at it, and another thing, because I was about to get Dawn too, because Dawn had tried it with me a few weeks earlier, because Dawn worked at the basement location. She didn't like driving the bus. They had some stupid event that they put together, that she put together, and it was going to be, again, on a Saturday, and she didn't have a way to get her kids there because she didn't want to drive the bus. So they voluntold me that I was going to be driving their kids to some event on my day off. And I'm like, how y'all going to tell me I'm taking y'all kids somewhere? That don't make any sense. And then on top of that, she's going to send me some crazy message or like a text message the night before, like, Michael, it is imperative that you show up on time because this is an important event. I should have gave some to Dawn too. Dawn should have caught a little bit of that too, because she definitely wasn't off the hook either. I was done with everybody. So I went and took one of them donuts that I bought and went right to my desk and turned on my little music at the computer, sat at that desk and ate that donut and tuned out everybody. And eventually everybody went on to their centers, and then I think Ava went and took lunch. And man, but what ended up happening was boss lady ended up calling me later that night and was like, so I think we need to schedule another meeting. Just you, me, and Ava. I'm like, okay. So this meeting wouldn't be for a few days, but in between the meeting where I had to blow up and the next meeting between me and boss lady was the soccer tournament. And so I was like, you know what, let me put my energy back on the kids. You know, I didn't know if I was getting fired or not, but at this point I'm like, it's been a few days, so I don't think I'm getting fired. Plus, who wants my job anyway? Nobody wants to come to my center. And that was one of the things. Like, you know, we had all of these different centers in DC, Maryland, and Virginia. Nobody was breaking their necks to come to my center for a bunch of different reasons. One, people never heard of us. Two, everyone knew we had the smaller site. Nobody wanted to be at the site that didn't have the gyms and the fields and all that other stuff. And then a lot of folks also didn't really want to work under boss lady. They had heard stories and people just weren't really feeling it. So it wasn't like, you know, I had a hot commodity job that people were dying to have. It's one of the reasons why I do think they hired me so easily, because like I said in episode 27, I came with not a whole lot of work experience. You know, my work experience was being a choreographer and being a resident assistant, and somehow they put me in a position to be a whole director of a center. So I was like, yeah, they must have really been struggling to find somebody. So we get to the soccer tournament, and wow, guess who's at the soccer tournament? There's a board member and one or two people from headquarters. I was like, And so they come out there, oh, this is just amazing. Yeah, whatever. And so, you know, they go and they take all their pictures, because that's the one thing. Listen, folks will not be around for nothing, but they'll do a photo op, be taking all the pictures, be in all the shots, and then be trying to take credit for stuff, but it's okay. But anyway, so, you know, the board members and stuff are there, and they're amazed at what they see, especially when they're watching the two teams, because even when it got to the older team, when they saw Crystal as goalie, I mean, this girl blocked everything. Every time somebody kicked the ball, I mean, she would throw herself to the ground, knock that ball the other way. Just, I mean, you were amazed at how good she was. But with the little kid team, they ended up winning their game. I was so happy. They won. This little kid, Donnie, who was one of my favorites in the club, period. We're not supposed to have favorites, but Donnie, I don't care. He was one of my favorite kids. He just was easygoing, one of the nicest kids you'll ever meet. I think he's about to be a senior in high school now, but Donnie was my favorite. And he had a brother, Clay, that was my other favorite. And I remember Clay was on the older kid team. At the time, Donnie was in second grade, Clay was in fourth. And I remember Clay had scored a goal, and I think that was the first goal he scored all season. So he did this little victory lap around the gym about 3 times. I'm like, all right, Clay, I'm happy for you too, but we got to finish the game. The rest of the kids have resumed playing. You still running and circling the square. But what ended up happening is the little kids won their tournament. Wonderful. The big kids, it got down to the wire. And they played hard. They played so hard. They played hard. And then, I don't know, it was almost like everybody just got in their heads from the other team. And they ended up losing by like a point or two. And, it was the end of the world. I mean, these kids boo-hooed And it was because they had won every game up until then. Like, they had gotten so used to winning everything, and not even just winning, but like winning by like 3 or 4 points in every game. And you know, soccer, sometimes you can have a soccer game where there's only 1 point scored the whole game, or sometimes there's nothing scored, or maybe it might just be 2. But I mean, these kids, the score was always going to be like 7-2, 8-3. Like, they were always having these really high scores, and so they lost, and I mean, it just took them down. They cried and cried and cried. And so we got on the bus. Even when they were walking to the bus, everybody's heads were down. They were breaking my heart. I felt so bad. I'm like, come on, y'all played amazing. And I think what it was, the other team sucked so bad, no disrespect to the kids, like, my kids had won every game. The other teams were just not that great as far as the other teams in their age range, and so the team that they played against had only won 1 game out of the 8 we played. And so it was like, they felt like we lost to them, and I'm like, okay, let's not get big-headed. But so they're on the bus crying. Everybody's boohooing. I'm trying to drive the bus. I just keep hearing and at one point, Monica was even crying too. I was like, y'all got it, because look, Monica got to play too. So Monica, she was pretty decent, and so they're on there crying, and Monica was like, it's just not fair because they had cheated. The refs hate us. And then Ashley had jumped in. If we all just stop talking about it, it won't hurt as bad. I'm like, you know what? I was like, you know what? Let me take the kids to McDonald's. Now, I did not have McDonald's money because, again, look, all we had was that Costco card, and that money had been spent, so I had to use my own money. And so I took the kids to McDonald's, knowing I didn't have the money to pay for all of these kids, but I was like, I'll just go ahead and do it. We get to the McDonald's, and like at this point, one of the things I always did with the kids, I taught them how to speak up. They learned that Mr. Michael and Miss Ava are not going to do everything for them, so they knew how to take their own orders if we went to a restaurant or if we went to McDonald's or something. And so, you know, they would get in a line, I would stand by the register, and they would all give their order, and when everybody was done, then I'd go ahead and swipe the card and pay for everything. And so as each kid went and gave their order, I'll take a cheeseburger with fries and frap. We ain't got no money for no frap anything. You better get a high C like everybody else. I feel bad for y'all, but not that bad. And so they all went and just gave these orders. And mind you, I guess, you know how they say laughter is contagious? I guess crying can be contagious too, because now the little kids are crying. Now mind you, they won their tournament. What y'all crying for? And it was so crazy, because even the staff at the McDonald's, they felt so bad because they didn't even have to know what happened, but they knew what happened just based on the optics. You see a group of kids coming in with jerseys and they're crying. You know they lost their game. And so we had that McDonald's. Man, I was about to start crying too when I thought about how much I was going to be in the hole, because these kids listen, these are not some kids meal eating kids, all right? Even the little kids, they were ordering full meals. They wanted, you know, quarter pounder with cheese. They want Big Mac, you know, they want the chicken strips and the 10-piece nuggets and all, you know. I'm like, Lord, man, I don't remember how much it was, but I definitely spent like, it had to at least be, you know, upwards or close to, I don't know how much, at least probably $200. And at that time, I wasn't making no money, so $200 was a whole lot, especially when the bills and stuff were due. I was like, dang, man. But they just needed to feel loved in that moment, so I was trying to do the best I could. But I mean, that was the saddest day, even watching them eat. If you've ever watched people cry and chew, it's the most entertaining thing. But I felt so bad for the kids. But I was like, listen, guys, you guys did so good. And you know what? The best thing is, we're still going to have soccer next year. Hey, we don't want to play anymore. Oh, look, y'all going to play this game. This is the one thing we was cranking up on. We going to do some more soccer. So we'll revisit this next year and see how you all feel. And then there was this one time, I swear my kids broke some multi-million-dollar equipment, I'm not sure. But we had this partnership with this big scientific company, and they were having this big, massive event. And so I remember being on the phone with the sponsors of the event, and so the sponsors had called all the directors of the different centers. And so I'm talking to the people, and they're like, yeah, we want you to come on out and just bring every elementary kid you have. I was like, all of them? Yeah, bring them all. They're all welcome. It's going to be so much fun. We're going to have different gadgets. They're going to have these electronic name tags, and the robots will call them by their names, and it's going to be really, really great. Okay, great, but you sure you want all the kids? You know, I got like 40, 50 elementary kids. Yeah, bring them all. It's going to be perfect. We're going to have food. It's going to be games. It's going to be great. Okay, and you know, I'm sitting here thinking like, you know, I want my kids to have fun, but you know, we've never done a trip where I've taken that many kids to anything, you know, and again, it's just Ava and I, so trying to monitor like 50 kids is not gonna flow too well. And the other thing was, we only had one bus, but Boss Lady, of course, being Boss Lady, already was like, I have solutions for this. We're gonna make sure you have 2 buses. Now, mind you, 2 buses would mean we could fit about 30 32 kids if you stuff a few kids in. And so I'm like, that's still not the 50. But you know what? I was like, let me just be quiet because they don't pay attention to us anyway. We're just going to take the 30 kids and the other 15 or whoever that don't get to go, I'll do something else special for them. Plus, all 50 kids don't come every day anyway. So who's to say that all 50 will show up that day? And so we end up having to go to this place, and now Ava has to drive the bus. There's one problem. Ava is terrified of driving the bus, especially if it's more than 2 miles away from the center. Like, if she ever drove the bus with the kids, she always stayed very local, like right up and down the street, go to the store real quick, take the kids over to Applebee's, take the kids to Walmart to get some arts and crafts type of thing, or the neighborhood pool. But the idea of getting on the freeway and going anywhere was out of the question, right? And this place was going to be way out in like McLean or Fairfax, Virginia. And so I was like, okay, Ava, listen, we're gonna have to take the kids. I know you're uncomfortable, so let's try to make this as easy as possible. I'm gonna drive all the boys because those are the ones that got the personalities. Even though we got a lot of personalities at the club, most of the runners, the fighters, the ones that want to spit, the ones that like to play fight and roughhouse and flip things over and steal things and break things and disappear for hours at a time, and then you find out they were hiding under the table the whole time. Usually it was the boys. So I was like, listen, I'll take all the boys because they can make all the noise and hoopla on the bus while I drive because I can tune them right out. You take all the girls, and listen, we'll find a way to get there on back roads. We won't even take the freeway. We'll just back road it all the way there. You just follow me. And so, look, I printed out my MapQuest directions because I don't even think I had a GPS at the time. No judgment. I did not have a smartphone yet. I don't think I got an iPhone until like 2014. But anyway, Ava's annoyed because she really didn't want to go on this trip. I'm a little annoyed too because I was still annoyed at the fact that, we had to take so many kids. We had never taken that many. And then really with the ratio, when you're doing trips like that, you should really only want to have maybe one adult to maybe 8 to 10 kids. Once you start getting like one adult to 15 kids, it's harder to keep track of everybody. They're going to still be with you, but things are more likely to happen because you have more kids that you need to look after. So we head to this place, and what should have been a 45-minute ride took 2 hours. Every time I kept looking, Ava was driving that bus so slow behind me, and I was paranoid because her nervousness was making me nervous. I was like, maybe we don't need to go. Like, every time I look in the mirror, I'm like, come on, Ava, come on, woman, look, come on. And it was like, if there was a light that was turning yellow, I knew not to even go through it, because if I went through it, I know she wasn't coming behind, and then I'd have to pull over. So I was like, all right. So we trucked it on along all the way there. It was almost like we were on the parade route, just trucking along, getting to this event. So we finally get there. Boss Lady's there. People from the other centers are there. Boss Lady got an attitude already. Now, mind you, I still haven't had the meeting with Boss Lady after my big blow up. And so I had that meeting with her like the next day, So she already got an attitude. And I'm like, dang, man, I'm not making this any smoother for myself. And so she's in there. There's like 1 or 2 people from headquarters there. And now this is where I started getting an attitude. They had food at this event, right? All, hot dogs, chips, soda, juice, all this stuff. What ended up happening, and mind you, I had been in communication with Boss Lady, and I kept saying, hey, we're en route, but this is what's happening with the traffic, so on and so forth. So they knew we were on the way. So I was like, oh, okay, so where's the food for this group? Oh, we didn't know if you guys were coming. We gave all the other kids seconds. Some kids got thirds. Huh? Wait, so there's no food for the kids? And mind you, we've been on this bus for 2 hours. The kids are restless. No food for my kids. I'm like, you know what? Okay, so my energy's already down, right? Boss Lady got an attitude. Ava is over it. The kids are hungry. And I'm like, let's just make the best out of this, y'all. And so they go. And what happened was they had this big, giant machine that could shoot a basketball into a hoop. That was like the pinnacle of the entertainment for the day. And so the guy comes and he shows us the demonstration. This is the Robo, whatever the name was, the Robo 2605K, whatever it was called, I don't remember. And you put the ball in the claws, you program it through this computer. I'm going to program the coordinates, the planes, the Y and the X, which will show the circumference and the distance of where it should go. And so he types some stuff in the little computer, and then the robot shoots the ball right in the hoop. I was like, okay, cool. And then he was like, actually, bring all the kids over. I want them all to come and try it. And I'm like, okay, I like this idea, but how about we do maybe like 10 kids at a time, because 50 is a mob. Oh, no. It can handle everything. Come on, bring them all. Oh, everyone, this way. I'm like, you know what? How about I just go sit and punch my head into a wall? Because clearly, no matter what I say, everybody knows more than me. Everyone knows my kids better than I do. So y'all go ahead. Y'all got it. And so he goes out there. He's trying to calm all the kids down. They're excited because, again, this is like some robot that can do all kind of stuff. This is like watching BattleBots in real life, if you remember that show. So the kids are all rambunctious, excited. On top of that, there's other kids in there as well from the other centers. But, the other kids have gotten to do a lot of the different activities. And because we got there so late, the event is almost over. So they're trying to give us like a cram session to see all these different robots and stuff. And so he puts the basketball in the claws of the robot, types his little computer thing, and then he makes all the kids stand in a circle around the hoop. And I don't know why he did that, because to the kids, that meant that this is about to be a game. And so the robot shoots the little ball. Before the ball could even get in the air, all of my kids, boys and the girls, they have decided that they're going to turn into LeBron and Carmelo and Steph Curry and Kyrie. They just turned into everybody. Everybody's jumping up in the air, packing each other. One kid smacks the ball back. And then there was this kid, Will. Like, Will's already an old soul, but he's this huge kid. Sweet kid, but he's big. Like, a lot of my boys were just really huge, like really solidly built. It might have been just the diet, because I guess the diet had a lot of starches with what they ate at home, and so lots of yuca and plantain and fufu and all that kind of stuff. So a lot of the kids were just really solidly built. And so Will jumps up, smacks this ball down as hard as he can, like with all of his might, kind of like in Meet the Parents when Ben Stiller was playing volleyball in the pool and he was getting annoyed because he sucked. So then when he tried to spike the ball, he broke the girl's nose because the ball hit her in the face and she was supposed to be getting married. He hit it like that. He whack, right? That ball went, hit the robot, knocked the robot straight to the ground. And mind you, other kids were jumping up as well. So as Will went up, there were a few other kids that went up as well, and they all came down together. So the robot is going down. I got like 6 kids coming down with the robot. They fall on the robot. I see a piece of the robot chip off and fly across the floor. I was like, and all I'm thinking of is like, okay, I'm sure this is like some $1 million robot or something. I was just like, let me just act like I didn't see nothing. Because again, remember, everybody ignored what I said. I specifically said, you don't need to have 850 kids at this thing. Let's just have like groups of 10 and we'll rotate. But, everybody knew more than me. So now I'm like, let me just act like I don't see anything, because that's on y'all. That ain't my fault. So when the robot crashes, you hear everybody go like, you heard like a whole bunch of and everything, and I'm like, oh snap. Ava's looking at me, I'm looking at Ava. I was like, I don't know what we supposed to do. And so the people are like, oh, no, it's okay. It's okay. And I'm thinking like, no, it's not. Look, somebody getting fired up in here, like, and it ain't gonna be me. And so it was so funny because like them kids were so excited to touch everything. And when I tell you, they kept breaking stuff in this event. It was like stuff kept falling off of tables. They had this flying little drone robot machine. One of the kids and jumped up and smacked it down while it was flying. I was like, see, this is what I told y'all. We don't bring everybody to everything. You gotta have a good balance of which kids to bring. And so, man, that was a trip there. But see, it's karma, because you know what? Y'all didn't feed my kids. You know what I mean? Y'all gave all the kids all the chips and the juice and the hot dogs and stuff. My kids got to be there hungry. So you know what? Let's bust up a few things. All right? I love my kids. I'll say this. Kids have all kind of energy. Like I said, I don't like calling kids bad. They just need something to do. Sometimes my kids just needed something to do. But you know what? The kind of something to do that my kids needed was one that I was calibrated for. So I could manage and work with my kids just fine. And that's why when other people used to think they knew more than me, I used to just kind of let them have it, like, okay, go ahead. So that's kind of like even Miss Ellen, who was the cooking lady from the other episode, when she was like, oh no, just bring all the kids. I got it. We're going to have a great time. Okay. And then, 20 minutes later, she's in there losing her mind. Everyone will not be able to make the kale chips if you're all talking. Like, just losing it. Or the other volunteer we had that was the dancer, and she was ready to go in there and then dislocated her knee on the first day. I'm like, y'all just... I keep trying to tell y'all. Okay, so what I'm going to do, because I don't want this episode to go on and on and on, I'm going to pause it right here. In about 2 weeks, I will have the second half of what happens at this meeting, what happens at this school year, and there's a whole bunch of things that also come down the pipeline. I get a new staff member that joins the team, so now there's 3 of us, plus additional volunteers. I must tell you about the God-forbidden summer camp that we had to run. I must tell you about the time I was one step from choking out John. It was a whole lot that went on during the second half of the year. So join me in about 2 weeks, and we will catch up.